to both of you. Nice to see you again.
Mm-hmm.
Good lead into this session, I think. A nice chat about things like the Holy Trinity, all of which will prepare us well for today's lesson. Our quotes, let's dive into that and some teaching around that, and then that'll take us nicely into the lesson for today, which is another review lesson. So let me share my screen with you. Very, very simple lesson. Only 4 words, but 4 very profound words. Okay, so if you can read that for us to kick it off, Archie.
Mm-hmm. No self, no problem.
This is a Zen master who said that when asked to explain the deeper meaning of Zen Buddhism. In typical Zen fashion, just get to the absolute core, which is one of the things I love about the Zen tradition, is it's so succinct. There's no flowery stuff. It's just like, there you go. If there's no self, there's no problem. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So it reveals both the root cause of all problems and the solution to all these problems in just 4 simple words. The entire physical universe, governed by the laws of time and space, stems from our identification with a false self-concept. Therefore, all problems that seem to arise within its so-called reality must also stem from this false self-concept. That's logical, right? But what is this false self-concept, you might ask? Well, it's just a mistaken idea that you are an individual entity with your own unique identity, personality, life situation, and yes, all the problems that are seemingly an integral part of your life. Right? What would your life be without problems? Ask yourself that. If I had no problems, would I actually think that I'm a separate self? And the answer, if you're honest, is that no. Your problems define you as a separate self more than anything else. Your desires as well, but then your desires turn into a problem because it's like the problem is how do I get what I desire, right? So it creates another problem for you. So if this is true, all problems are just a construct of a separate self. Every authentic spiritual path that holds to the perennial philosophy agrees that it is. Then the answer to all your problems becomes obvious. Just let go of your false self-concept and allow it to be replaced with your true self, or restate it in even simpler language, let go and find your flow. Just let go and allow this flow of spirit, life essence, presence, being to flow through you and live your life for you. That's essentially what we're saying. Very, very simple life advice, but to actually do this is a lifetime's work. To just let go and find your flow. Right. So just let go of your separate self then, which you think is you. Right. Easier said than done, right? Just let go of who you think you are, everything that makes you up, everything that defines you. Now you've got to let that go. That's what this teaching is saying. And then you will naturally find this thing called flow, which of course the miracles cause goals. So you might ask in response to this simple advice, well, how does finding my flow really help replace my false self-concept with my true self? Which is a very good question, and I'll let the man who coined the term flow and brought that into the terminology of modern psychology answer that in, again, a beautifully brief, succinct way. So, Elaine, if you can read that quote for us, kindly, from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who was the psychologist who coined the term flow and introduced it into modern psychological terminology.
It is when we act freely for the sake of the action itself, rather than for the ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were.
And there you see a photo of a mother and her daughter just playing. So there's no ulterior motive there. It's like, okay, so I'm playing because I want to get this outcome. It's just a a natural, spontaneous unfolding of what feels good in the moment. Okay, well, let's just play and have fun together. Whereas the ego always has ulterior motives. You notice that?
Yes.
There's always an agenda. There's always a vested. Okay, so I'm doing this because I want an outcome. And then what happens is the outcome becomes important than the process. The more you focus on outcome, the more the process just becomes a means to an end. And as we know, those means then just justify the end justifies the means. So because we want the outcome, we'll do all kinds of things that aren't actually flowing, that aren't actually integrous to get the means. We've seen this throughout human history. Every tyrant who introduced a system of oppression duped people into believing that there was some great vision. Oh no, the end is, let's say, Hitler's grand vision of the fatherland and the German Reich and all that BS.
They want to walk.
And so the end justifies the means, right? We've got to do this to achieve this great goal. Never mind that the means are actually evil. The end justifies it. Very, very dodgy ground. That's the ego's ground, which is dominated by the ulterior motives, is dominated then by the future. And what gets covered over is the presence of God in the moment. And with a system like Nazism, you saw that very clearly. It was all about oppression and violation of human rights continuously, and attack and mass murder. I mean, they're dreadful. So now, how can any of that be justified by any vision? If you're just in flow, you can't justify it, can you? It's like, that's just crazy. Yeah. But you're justified through the ulterior motives. That's how these systems come into play. So flow just does away with that. It's like, well, the ulterior motives on anything that doesn't feel happy and peaceful and joyful now isn't correct. It's not flow. So whatever end the ego's cooked up, whatever ulterior motive it has, you see it for what it is. It's just another way to justify a state of mind that's out of flow, that in fact is edging God out, as we said.
Yeah.
So flow ends all of that. If you're really committed to living these principles and living in flow, then none of those evil systems could have occurred. It was only because people were willing to go out of flow, out of the now, and make these ulterior motives more important than peace and love and joy in the moment, that those systems arose. But eventually they collapsed, because nothing can sustain. If it's untrue, it's going to eventually collapse under the weight of its own delusions, which is what happens. But we saw what happened, let's say, Nazi Germany. That process took about 15 years, maybe more, two decades. Not Nazism started in the 1920s, so it took about 2 decades to play out, and a lot of pain, a lot of suffering was caused. If people had just gone, no, that's out of alignment with flow, it's out of integrity, this is BS, we're not going to listen, none of it would have happened. But the ego got them on the ulterior motives, the grand vision of the German Reich and etc., or whatever it is, whatever that spurious vision is. I mean, Donald Trump did a similar thing in his election campaign. We'll make America wealthy, we'll make America great, and we'll make America safe. Really? Like, is that just spin doctoring? Have you really done any of that? What does that actually mean? Make America great. What does that actually mean, Donald? Like, let's define it. What does that mean? Does that mean America's going to boss everyone around the world? You can just go and invade any country you want? Is that greatness? So, when you start when you start looking into those ulterior motives, the bubble just pops, doesn't it? It's like, it's just, you see it for what it is. It's nonsense. It's insanity. So only when we act freely, without wanting any specific outcome, that we can transcend the limits of our separate selves, which are defined by their desires, the related fears. If you desire something, then you fear you're not going to get it, right? It's natural. The grievances, so you desire something and then you don't get what you want, then you have a justification for a grievance. And we need to let all that go. That's all part of the separate self, to come to know who we really are beyond these limitations. So flow shows us who we are, i.e. miracles show us who we are. It's exactly what the Course is saying, right? Can you see? It's the same teaching. Nothing's different here. It's exactly the same teaching. It's just phrased in a different way, with different language. But it's exactly what the Course is teaching, and just called by another name, called by flow. And we say, let go of the ulterior motives, and then you find flow. Well, forgive, and then you find miracles, right? Same thing. So fortunately, we now have a very clear and effective way to do this process while you live your seemingly human life in the dream world, through the carefully designed mind training program that Yeshua's given us in A Course in Miracles. It's all there. The teachings are there. The mind training lessons are there, that help you to systematically and progressively let go of the separate self that has ulterior motives, and start going more and more into the flow, into the miracle, and living in a miraculous way. Interestingly, as a kind of aside, but nevertheless relevant, the Buddha never said there was a true self or a creator God, preferring to instruct his followers in meditation and other mind training practices that would reveal the true nature of reality, which he called nirvana, to them experientially. And so that was the Eastern teaching, very much that's about the mindfulness. It's about actually experiencing it, rather than a sort of dogmatic approach, which is more favored by the Western teachings, where it's a dogma and you just kind of got to believe in the dogma. The Buddha didn't say that. He just said, do this practice, gave people this practice called vipassana, which is a meditation practice based on breathing and body observation, and said, don't believe me, just practice this and you'll see for yourself, which is a much better way of convincing people than dogma. So what A Course in Miracles is designed to do is bring about the same experience with students. Again, it's got a practice. You've got the course lessons, which are essentially meditations, and those meditations guide you in a different methodology. It's just forgiveness or letting go of your false self-concept by systematically letting go of all negative thoughts and emotions. Right? That's what it's helping you to do, to reveal the Christ or the one self that you are in truth, and everyone else is too. And because it's perfectly one, this true self-concept will ultimately bring your mind into the state of pure formless awareness or abundance that the Buddha called nirvana. Yeshua calls the kingdom of heaven, Course in Miracles. So accepting your Christ or one self as your true identity awakens you then naturally from your false self-concept based on the belief in separation, which is the ego, into the pure formless awareness of perfect love or abundance, which is, if you've been reading the translated versions of daily workbook lessons, is our replacement name for God. Okay? So pure formless awareness of perfect love or abundance. So what I wanted to show you very briefly is this. I shared this about half an hour ago, an expression. So this is the Holy Trinity's thought system, which is showing you how these components interrelate. So at the very top level, we've got God, source, love. We call it many things: God, Father, heaven, truth, knowledge, revelation, oneness, being, pure formless awareness of perfect love, and so on. Source, spirit, life, reality. In the Eastern teachings, it's called Brahman, Nirvana, Samadhi. This is ultimate top level, level one consciousness, as or awareness, as Ken Wapnick called it. But then we need a way to interpret that. We're now seemingly living in a dualistic illusion, where all the people things, places, events, circumstances, the traumas, the successes, the failures, and all experiences that seem to exist and happen, physical use of the universe of time and space seem to happen. All of that seems to be real to us. And so we now need a way of reinterpreting all that. So enter the idea of the Christ, or the true self, as we call it in alternative language, also called higher awareness or extension or sun. The Buddha is another term, the Atman. This same terminology in different traditions. This is the self that knows that it's perfectly one with its source, i.e. God, its creator, its source, but it also is able to perceive the world of illusion correctly. It's able to look at all this in a very clear, objective way, and not allow itself to be sucked in to the dream and believing in all of it. So it can rise above it into this awareness. We look at it from another perspective on the timeline of consciousness. You let's say you've had a trauma, a messy divorce, let's say, or a death of a parent. These things happen in life. Now you're dealing with a situation in your life, in the timeline of your life, but the Holy Spirit is reminding you that none of this is really true. But you're still one with your source, so none of this really has any impact or effect on you. That's the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of the dream. So that's how it operates in practice. Very, very, very helpful thought system to solve all your problems. So these issues that show up in our life, some of these, what I've shown here on the time, as major issues, but throughout your life, you're going to have various sets of problems. You know, some more seemingly serious than others, some more difficult to solve than others. But our life is characterized by a series of problems. So how do we solve those problems? Well, this is saying you can solve it all with this one thought system by simply letting go of them and going into this pure form of oneness of perfect love momentarily, remembering what it is fully. You can then return back down to this perceptual level, but now it's a double-sided arrow. So now you have this awareness of your being that's changed your whole perspective. It comes in to reinterpret it. And so now you have a different interpretation from the egos, which is the red arrow. That's just psychological and emotional attachment. You now have a different interpretation, which is going to systematically and progressively take your mind out of this gutter of time, space, and being seemingly condemned to live out this separate life on the journey of your life and ultimately suffer and die. It extracts you from that and restores your mind to this awareness. And it does that at any point in time that you choose. You can stay there if you want to. Your correct perception helps you to remain rooted in this awareness and not to identify with the ego, which is the separate self. That's the psychological and emotional attachment to the separate self's interpretation of that event, which then locks the separate self in place in the mind. Okay, so does that hopefully that diagram makes sense?
Mm. Can I just ask, Jonathan, on the previous diagram, so the ego's thought system then is represented by the bottom bit in red. Is that the
this one, the Trinity?
Yeah, that one, yes.
So that would be called level 2. Ken Wapnick called this level 2, and he called this level 1.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of intermediate level, I call it a mezzanine level because, as you know, I've got a corporate finance background.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like the intermediary level that bridges the gap. And that's really an important, that's what he's helping us to understand and to raise our awareness up to. So we can start operating consistently from the true self and the Holy Spirit, with remembrance of perfect love or oneness that's guiding our perceptions.
Yeah.
And that thought system is the thought system that he's training us to adopt. That's the thought system that's going to guide you home. So the more that you perceive correctly, the more you become identified with your true self, the stronger this pure form of oneness of perfect love becomes in your mind. And eventually you're so in your true self, you're so aligned with that there really isn't much difference between the true self and the source of it. The true self and the source just merge into one awareness in your mind. And then you're home. Right? Once you've merged into one awareness and there's only one awareness going on, then you're back home. You're in level one, you're in truth, and duality's disappeared. But while we're here dealing in apparent duality, the true self and the Holy Spirit, or remembrance of perfect love, are essential guides. They're absolutely essential to help us navigate through the dream.
And then in the red zone, then we would apply things like the instrument of peace to help us then get out of the ego's thought system into
So this process here is called forgiveness in the course. What shifts you from identification with all this into awareness of your higher self is a process of letting go of forgiveness, or correction, or miracles. These are all terms for the transformation of mind, of perception that needs to take place. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That transformation has to start happening consistently in your mind, or you will never ever get here. The chasm is too great. This is a seemingly unbridgeable gap between a world of separation and a world of perfect oneness. Well, there's a massive gap between them. They're complete opposites. So how do you bridge the gap? Well, you bridge it with this operating system of the Holy Trinity, with the true self, or the Christ, and the Holy Spiritual remembrance of perfect love or oneness, guiding you moment by moment in how to think about things, how to perceive things correctly, what decisions to make, and then from your decisions come your words and your actions. And then that affects the timeline, because you go up into this, you connect, you come back down, you get a different perspective on the situation, and you change your mind about it, and you change your decision, and you do something different. And then you take an action, you say something different, you take an action, and then the timeline changes. What happens on the timeline, then these interventions by the Holy Spirit can dramatically change the way your timeline then plays out. And if you learn the lessons, then maybe you don't need to have another trauma. Maybe that trauma can be averted, and your life becomes happier and smoother than it needed to be. You don't need to have all these traumas necessarily, if you can just learn to let go of whatever traumas have come in the past. But if you hold on to the traumas and you make those real, you perpetuate them into the future, and then you're locked into the ego's thought system, and it's all the struggle of it. You see how it works? That's karma. I've got psychological and emotional attachment to your self-concept, and that plays out as the attachments to the past, which then affect the future, and they profoundly affect your decision-making ability. You're going to make different choices. You're going to say different things, make different choices, and so your life unfolds. So this stuff absolutely matters. This is the guidance system for your entire life. And there's only two choices. It's either a totally insane megalomaniac. It's like, handing over the keys to your life to Adolf Hitler and saying, there we go for it. You run my life. Well, it's going to be a car crash, isn't it? We saw what he did to a whole nation and the world. So it's like, it's not going to work. It's going to end in tears. It's going to be horrible. So don't, Jesus is just trying to teach us, look, don't go there. I want to save you a lot of pain and suffering. Just listen to me, and this guidance of your own true self. It's already there. I'm just telling you what you already know. But I've just got to remind you, because you got so invested in the ego that you've forgotten. But there's this alternative voice, which actually is much more powerful. I mean, this force is the only force of truth. It's always been there, but the red arrow and the red timeline seem to be so dominant and powerful in our minds that we forget that this is available and it's there. So we have to start cultivating and nurturing that thought system, and that's the practice of forgiveness, or letting go. Cultivates it strengthens this bond, right? That this blue arrow, these blue arrows are really, really important, because that's where the transformation happens. It's double-sided, because you're going to go into this awareness, but then you're going to come back from that awareness into perception, and you're going to perceive the situation differently.
Yeah.
And transform it. Now, like, I look at this and I go, but this is a very understandable, reasonable, rational, psychological model, right? It makes sense. If it makes sense, then, okay, show me a better model and I'll consider it. But I haven't seen a better model than this, because there isn't a better model. That doesn't exist. This is it, right? This is the ultimate mind training theory and practice. The beauty of the course is he's not just giving you theory. He's saying, okay, the theory is one thing. Yes, I'm going to give you all that, but you need to practice this. So I'm going to give you these lessons to practice this in your daily life over and over and over again. Whenever you're facing stuff in the dream, which you will on a daily basis, here is how you're going to deal with it. So I'm going to give you these lessons to help you to practice this operating system on what's happening in your life. And so your life then takes on a real meaning and purpose, right? Your life is your spiritual practice. Your life is the practice that's awakening you to who you really are.
Yeah.
Well, what more could you really ask for? That's its true meaning. That's its true purpose. And whatever experiences you have along the way, that's part of the process. So you don't get attached to any of the details of the journey. You just go, okay, well, whatever it is, that was obviously what was necessary as part of my practice to show me who I am and who I'm not, which is all really helpful. So the worst trauma, let's say you lost a parent as a child, it can be very traumatic, but that worst trauma can actually be your best lesson in awakening. That trauma, correctly perceived, can awaken you to who you really are. An eternal child or son of God that has an eternal father that can't die. There you go, right? Just don't. You obviously believe in an illusion then, because all illusions ultimately don't last; they die. So clearly, that wasn't true. That parent-child relationship in the ego's jurisdiction wasn't true or real. So it failed you. So you see how then forgiveness becomes your way out of that. Okay, well, if I can see that correctly, then I can go to my true Father in heaven, my source, in other words, and I can just connect with that and realize that can never fail me. That can never go away, because it's my own true awareness. So the idea of it going away or dying is ridiculous. It's my own eternal nature. And so the trauma of losing a parent at a young age could help you to find that awareness later in life. So was it a bad thing, or was it all perfect in its imperfection? To bring you back to truth, to bring you back to who you really are. And ultimately, everything in this world is designed to bring you back to this knowledge. And then it all starts to make sense. Now you have a framework within which you can make sense of all of the chaos and the pain and the misery and the suffering that happens in this world. Now it makes sense. You understand what it's really for, which is huge. That's enormous. That helps you to live still in a happy, peaceful, functional way through all of this. And that ability is called resilience. If you can do that and still be happy and peaceful and maintain, your mental health, then you're a resilient individual. So this breeds a very resilient kind of person, because you know how to let go of whatever the trauma is. As bad as it may seem to be, you can let it go.
Yeah.
All right. Any other? Is that helpful, Archie? Any other?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. So we go over that. I mean, we've been over this before. It's not the first time I've shown these diagrams, but I think every time you look at it, it just sinks in on a different level.
Exactly.
Like, okay. So here you have a complete operating system for your life. Why would you go anywhere else? Just learn the operating system. It's been given to you. Here it is. Just now it becomes how well can I apply this? How well can I teach my resistant mind these principles and actually be able to live them and apply them in my life, because that's what's going to make the difference. That's where the rubber meets the road, right? This is something that needs to be applied moment by moment, day by day, to your daily life. And then it is life changing, literally, absolutely life changing, because you're no longer living your life from the perspective of a separate self. You're now living it from the perspective of a higher self. That changes everything. Changes the complete game. Your life goes in a different direction, and you're going to have blessings and miracles and synchronicities start to happen naturally.
Yeah.
As part of that process, like, what more do you want? Could you ask for a better kind of life? No, you couldn't. There's no other higher way to live. I suppose you could say that Ramana Maharshi is just sitting in blissful being most of the time. Okay, maybe that's the ultimate level. But there's while you're here and you're having to live and work in the world, then this becomes the operating system is gonna help you do that. So master this, and maybe in time, maybe you get there. Maybe you do start to find more and more calling just to sit and be. But in the meantime, why not do, but decide and do from the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And live a really happy, peaceful, flowing, abundant life, your best life possible. The happy dream, the Course calls it, while you're awakening. If it's going to be your last lifetime, why not make it a good one?
Yeah.
Just don't get attached to it. Realize that it's just a game. It's just a dream. It's going to come to an end. But you can have really lived to the full, and you can have really learned your lessons. And if you do that, this is your last go. It's your last game on earth. It's your last lifetime ever.
Yeah.
And then you transcend, and then you've earned the right to just be in blissful being for all eternity. Well, the ego doesn't like that, obviously, because there's no separate self anymore. It's all collapsed. But your true self goes, yeah, that's all it's really about. It's just going back to be one with my source, one with my Father, which I already know I am. But just to rest in that blissful being, is it'd just be amazing. I don't have to do anything anymore. I mean, how nice would that be? You can just bliss
such
out.
a relief.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to do. There's nothing more to learn. There's no more experiences necessary. There's no more suffering. There's no more pain. It's all gone. It's all over. And I can just bliss out.
Yeah.
In this perfect, blissful awareness. Now, the ego is going to say that's going to be boring. But the alternative, look at the ego's alternative honestly, and go, do I really want all this in the red box? Is that really a happy alternative to just blissing out in being for all eternity? Because that's the choice. That's what the ego offers as an alternative, and it is as stark as that. You either go into this crazy, chaotic world with all this misery and pain and suffering, and eventually everything dies, or you're going to bliss out in being, in this eternal being, forever. Those are the choices. So which do you choose? And it is as simple and as direct as that.
Yeah.
Because the moment you decide that separation is a viable thought system, then you choose this, and that's where you end up. And then, of course, you go, well, it's not really viable because I'm struggling and I'm suffering and I'm dying and I don't really understand it and I feel lost and confused. And, all of the effects of separation that we're all too familiar with. And then the journey begins of restoring your mind back to the place that you abandoned. Because now you realize, having abandoned it, that it really was not a good idea. It was a very bad idea. You shouldn't have done that, right? But you're only going to know that experientially. You're only going to know that when you actually do it. You go down the ladder of separation. You go through all the iterations of the ego to eventually end up as a victim of a cruel world. And going, what the hell's going on here? I don't really understand. I don't understand anything. I'm so lost and confused and lonely, and I'm suffering and I'm dying, and oh my God, what is going on here? yeah, well, that's the consequence of the thought of separation. That's where it brought you to. So what's going on here is you believed in a false idea, and now you have to change your mind. It's just so it's so simple, isn't it? Okay, suddenly you have the truth. There it all is. It's not rocket science. It's not a mystery. You know, whenever teachers or teachings appeal to mysteries, I'm always like, no, there's no mystery in this. It's actually really, really straightforward. It's just pretty radical because you're just like pulling the plug on the entire ego's thought system and your life and the world and the whole physical universe. It's just, you know, it's like flushing it all away. It's going down the drain. Pull the plug on it all. So you know that's where the resistance comes in. Is people don't want to get that radical. They want to somehow find a way to be a separate self and find happiness as a separate self. And that therein lies the problem with the majority of dualistic spiritual teachings, the whole personal growth industry pretty much, is they're trying to find a way for you as a separate self to be happy. And they will never, ever succeed. It's going to fail time and time and time again. So fortunately, Yeshua is just telling us that. He's saying, okay, look, I'm just going to give it to you straight. It's not going to work. You've tried it and you've tried it and you've tried, and you can try every possible teaching and every possible trick that the ego's got in its bag of tricks. But eventually you're going to have to come to the simple realization that it's not going to work. And that's a huge relief. You know, once you get that, oh my goodness. Thank goodness someone's just giving it to me straight. None of this stuff is going to work, ever. So fortunately, I now know that truth. Once I've accepted it, now my path becomes pretty obvious and pretty clear. There's only one thing I've got to do, and that's let go of all of it. Okay, at least I know what I've got to do. Okay, it's a journey of doing that. It's not going to happen straight away because the ego persists. It's deep-seated in our psyche. It's been going a very, very long time, 15 billion years. And who knows how many incarnations in your mind. This might be your 100,000th incarnation for all we know. 100,000 times of a false thought system of trying to make it work. But fortunately, eventually it's got to come to an end. Because eventually the truth will come out and tell you, look, this is all BS, and you need to just let it all go. And forget the whole thing. Everything in the red boxes and the red arrows is nonsense, is false, isn't true. That's what the Holy Spirit is teaching us. So the simple reinterpretation then is, if none of it's true, and only love is true, only pure formless awareness of perfect love is true, then what are you worried about? Why all the pain and the angst and the drama, which is mostly mental and emotional? Why all of that then, if there's only this, and that's the only truth? Does any of that make any sense whatsoever? And, sooner or later, you're going to have to realize it doesn't. There's no sense in it whatsoever. It's completely insane. This idea of separation was a completely insane idea, and it remains completely insane. Even though we've believed it and we've gone down the track of it, and we've now created a whole alternate reality because of that idea, it remains completely insane and unworkable. It doesn't work. Now we've just seen the evidence of that. We've had to live the evidence of that, experience that, and then change our mind, because enough, eventually enough is enough. Eventually everyone's like, I'm done. I can't handle the limitation and the lack and the loneliness and the suffering and the death anymore. It's too much. I want out. I'm finished, because the pain is too great. And that's when the Holy Spirit comes in and says, okay, finally, you're willing to listen. Gee, it only took 15 billion years, but hey, better late than never. Let's start the process now. Unfortunately, it doesn't need to take you 15 billion years to unwind it all. We can actually get it done in one lifetime, which in the grand scale, I mean, if you think of the speed of that, it might seem to be slow, but actually you're going at light speed here. Given that the whole thing's taken 15 billion years, we think, to unfold. And you might have been doing this for who knows how many hundreds, thousands, millions of years. This is all happening now very, very quickly, right? Like 20, 30 years is nothing. It's like a tiny tick of time in that grand scheme of time. A nanosecond, and you can get it in a nanosecond, bang, and then you're awakened and you're home.
Mm.
So that's what's happening, to both of you, and that's quite exciting. It's like finally,
it's very exciting.
Finally, I'm actually getting the program. I'm getting with it. I'm understanding. Finally, after all these years of delusion and frustration, and like tearing my hair out, trying to find the truth in an illusion. Finally, someone, thank God for Jesus Christ, Yeshua, our teacher, has just told us straight and said, look, this is how it really is, right? I figured it out. And you can try and figure it out yourself, or you can just listen to me and save yourself a lot of time, because you'll go down the same track as I did, and every other master's gone, and you'll come to the same conclusion. There is no other way out than forgiveness or letting go. Okay, well then, fine. At least you know the way out, and then just get busy with it. Just dedicate your life to learning that one simple skill of forgiveness or letting go. That's all you have to learn. But it's the hardest thing to learn. So okay, so yeah, that's going to take some time and energy and effort. But that is what your life is for. If you fail to learn that, then you come back, and you have to do less as that. And now you have a complete picture of how it all works, how it all fits, of why we have reincarnation. It all makes sense then, doesn't it? Why do we have a physical universe? It explains this. Beautifully. It says, well, we have a physical universe because you went down the track of separation. That created guilt and fear and sin in your mind. You couldn't handle that, so you have to project all that out of your mind, literally go out of your mind, and then create an alternate reality. So the world, the universe, is just projected thought, which is what the quantum physicists have come to by their own means. They've come to that realization. A guy called James Jean said, the universe begins to look more like a great thought than a great machine. That's a direct quote from one of the leading quantum physicists of his generation. A great thought. Well, there you go. It's all projected thought, right? So where did the thought come from? It came from a delusion of separation. That's where it came from. Now you have a complete theory, right? A theory of everything, a theory that explains it all. It explains science. It explains psychology. It explains, what's going on in the world. Okay, finally, we've got the truth here. And that once you understand the truth, you can get out of it. Now you've got a way out. But as long as you're confused about what the truth is, you're never going to find your way out, are you?
Yeah.
And that's, of course, where the ego comes in. It likes to keep people confused and spinning around in some iteration of a separate self in the world, desperately trying to find happiness and failing time and time again. Because you'll never find it in hell. In the helpless, innovative little life of victimhood and suffering, you will never find happiness. It's not possible. And that's all we're learning here. It's so simple. It's so simple. It should be obvious, but it's not. Right? We have to study it, and because the world has covered over this truth very, very cleverly. The ego covers this over and tries to justify the world of illusion and the world of helpless, innovative little lives that we live in, and it tries to make it somehow better and tries to give it to us as an offering for our belief, and says, here we go, I'm going to give you this world. And it might not be great now, but I've got a plan. I'll show you a better way to be a helpless, innovative little life. And you got to stop believing it, really. That's all Yeshua's saying to us. Stop it. Stop it already. Stop. Stop. Enough of the madness, just stop. You're beating your head against a brick wall. And you're bleeding and you're suffering, and then you're blaming the wall, and you go, oh, this is terrible, and why am I hurting so much, and why is life so unfair? It's like, no, you're doing it to yourself, so stop it. Whenever you judge, whenever you blame, whenever you accuse, blame, complain, attack, you're doing it again. You're beating your head against the brick wall again. That's what he's trying to say to us. So stop it. That's the only way he can help us. Stop what feeds the ego. Stop what feeds this very, very toxic thought system cuts it off at its root, and sooner rather than later, you'll go back into this awareness. You'll start reawakening to the awareness that was always there, but has been covered over. And that's then the process of awakening. Those are the miracles. The blue arrows are where you want to live your life. A transformed life, a miraculous life, is lived in the blue arrow. You spend some time here, but maybe not that much time. You don't. Fortunately, it doesn't say you have to spend hours and hours here. You just have to go in there and connect with it, and then you can go back in here and just reinterpret all this and just go, nah, just that's not true. That's just guilt. That's just fear. That's just more illusion, accusation, blame. It's all just a projection of a deluded thought system.
Yeah.
So I can just see it for what it is. Pop the bubble, and the more you do that, you see you're raising yourself up to the original decision, and you're reversing that. Every time you pop the bubble, every time you forgive, you say, no, separation isn't true. And you're reminding yourself of the truth that underlies that. So theoretically, very sound. The methodology of it, based on the theory, is then absolutely rock solid. Well, if that theory is correct, then the only way out is to radically forgive or let go of your belief in all these illusions, right? There's no other way. So that's what you've got to then do. And that's exactly what he's training us to do with the course. And so then the theory and the practice align. And if you start to bring those together and you do that consistently over years and years, then you start getting access to this. It starts awakening, and you start realizing who you really are experientially, not because someone told you that you're pure formless awareness of perfect love, because you're actually feeling it. And that's awakening, that's enlightenment. And that's what Jesus taught. He didn't teach any of the traditional religious stuff, the dogma. He didn't teach that. He taught like this process of genuine awakening through your own experience. And that just got lost in translation, because it's very dangerous teaching for the ego, incredibly dangerous. So it's gonna undo the entire ego thought system. It's a goner if you really get this, if you really understand this. And so it has to, it had to change the message. It couldn't sustain without twisting and distorting that message, which is exactly what happened. And he probably knew it would happen, but he had a plan. He said, okay, I'll wait 2,000 years, because that's, not really a long time. There's no time ultimately. I'll just wait until the world's ready, and then I'll give my direct true teaching in a course which is then available freely to the world at the right time. That's exactly what he's done. So this is the time of the second coming. It's not one person, Jesus, coming back. It's his teachings coming back through a book, which then gets taught by however many teachers and students, etc., who choose to adopt it. And he needs us to participate in that process. The teachings don't mean anything if they are not accepted by someone and then propagated and then taught again and explained. And so saying, well, then that becomes your function and your path. While you're here, learn it and teach it. And the more you teach it, the more you'll learn it. The more you learn it, the better teacher you'll become, and so on. And so you become a teacher of God in your own way. However that looks. Maybe you teach it formally in sessions like this. Maybe you just teach it through your presence in your interactions with people. Maybe you write a book. Maybe you write poetry. Maybe you compose song. Who knows? There's many ways, isn't there? Many, many ways of doing it.
Expressing it. Yep. Yeah.
And so then you have your higher purpose. Then your higher purpose unfolds to you your unique path in the undoing of the ego, in the awakening to the truth of everyone, unfolds for you, and you're guided in that process. And that is your best life. That's what you're meant to do. That's your destiny. And that will just happen if you start letting go. You will find you get directed in ways, as you just described, which you got directed to cancel that trip.
Yeah.
And stay. Okay, well, there's a reason behind that. You don't know. Here's the thing: you don't always know the reason, do you? You just know that it feels right.
Yeah, I just had this intuitive feeling that no, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels right, and then you go, okay, I don't really know why, but I'm going to go with that because it feels right.
Yeah.
And that's how the Holy Spirit works. It doesn't tell you all the reasons. It just says, do this.
Yeah.
Because it knows if it's going to go into reasoning and stuff, then you engage the ego part of the mind, and you're gonna struggle. Because then you're into reason and rationality, and then a part of your mind will go, well, hang on, like that doesn't, no, I can't believe that, or that's too far fetched, or I can't get my head around that. So it just gives you what you need now. It says to you, here's the insight. I'm giving you the guidance. Make the decision accordingly, and leave the rest to me. The consequences of that decision will unfold in a way that you couldn't anticipate. That's the beauty of it. So now your life becomes very spontaneous. Some people, this is really boring. You're just letting go and letting go. It's very boring. It's very dull. No, quite the opposite. Because actually the spontaneous flow starts happening, and these miraculous synchronicities, these surprises start happening in your life. And you go, wow, that's amazing. I didn't anticipate that. I didn't expect it. It just showed up. And that is a very nice way to live. Very free, very open, and your life is full of spontaneous blessings. Like what more do you want?
Yeah.
That surely has got to beat the ego's thought system of grinding your way. The best the ego can do, its version of success, is as a helpless innovator little life, you're going to try and be a grandiose, important person, and you're going to grind your way. The end justifies the means, of course. So you're going to grind your way to some version of the ego's success.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what collateral damage you cause. It doesn't matter who you hurt. You just, because your separate self and what it desires is more important than anything. And ultimately, that is going to disappoint you, right? Because at the end of your life, or at some point, you're going to go, what was it really all about? I ground my way to some version of success. And, as the story of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy, which Wayne Dyer quotes in The Shift. Very profound story. What if my whole life has been wrong?
Yeah.
On my deathbed. What if that's the case? I mean, that is a pretty devastating thought.
It is.
To have.
Yeah.
And then you die and you can't do anything about it. It's like, okay, I got it all wrong. Well, I guess I got to come back, haven't you? I mean, at least he had the realization at the very end of his life. But, maybe if he'd had it 10, 20 years earlier, then maybe he could have done something about it and actually, lived in a much better way. So don't die in the thought like, I got my whole life wrong. Like, get it right now while you still have life, while you still have power and energy, and you can do something about it. You can actually live in this expanded way, and you can live your life in the Holy Spirit and be guided, and you have these rich, meaningful, blessed experiences. Surely that's preferable to the ego stressing, straining, and striving, grinding for success. I mean, you only have to look at examples of that. You probably know people personally. You see celebrities and so on. Do that? It doesn't really work either. There's not a happy life. Usually, there's going to be burnout. There's going to be stress, addiction. There's always dysfunction in a life like that. And so it's not sustainable. Eventually, that crashes and burns. Whereas living in the Spirit is ultimately sustainable because you got eternal life guiding you. It's the fountain of life. It's the well of life, as Yeshua put it. This is the well from which you continuously draw, that never goes dry, from which you drink the living water of Spirit continuously, daily. You see, so now those teachings start making sense. When he says that, you go, okay, I'm like starting to understand what he really meant.
Yeah.
It's the living truth. It's what you're meant to live with. It's the thought system that's going to continuously fuel you and inspire you and energize you and give you, a really abundant, happy life while you learn your lessons. And then eventually you awaken to who you are and you're done. You don't have to come back and do it all over again because you learned all your lessons. That's the best life you can live. All right. So, sorry, bit of a digression, but it's the truth, isn't it? So we go over and over and over it again. This video, this documentary that I've recommended is from about the life of Ramana Maharshi. You've probably heard of him, but he was an enlightened Indian sage who attained his enlightenment. He was only 16 years old, so very, very young. He had an experience when he was 16 of intense fear coming over him of death. His father had died a few years earlier, and so this fear came upon him. But somehow he managed to just look at it and inquire, and went, "Who is feeling this?" So he must have been a pretty advanced soul. I'm sure he'd been some, mystic guru in a previous life. Came back, incarnated. There was his final lesson, and he just kind of got it. He collapsed his ego through that process of inquiry, which he then taught. That there's really no separate self or ego, and if you will just inquire, you'll see that. So people would come to him with their various problems, and he'd just say, "Well, who's asking that question? Who's got the problem? Who suffers?" Apparently, Yogananda actually went to him, and Yogananda had some issue he was dealing with, and he just said to him, "So, who suffers, Paramahansa? Who's suffering now?" Good question. Who is the self that's suffering?
Yeah.
Some of that's actually what you asked me earlier. Who is speaking? It's that sort of line of inquiry. Who's speaking? Who's thinking? Who's suffering? Because if you really inquire, you go inward rather than focus on the external form of the problem, which is just a projection of ego mind that had identified itself with a false self-concept. So what you do is you lock in to that self-concept by identifying with the problem. You see how it works? Very ingenious. The self-concept's perpetuated because the problem is apparently real. And the more the problem is real, the more the self-concept behind it is real. And that's why the ego is addicted to problems. That's why we have a world full of problems. They are necessary to maintain the false self-concept of the ego. Without problems, there would be no ego. So suddenly you're starting to wake up to the truth. Okay, that's why the world's so problematic. And that's why it always has been, and it always will be. Because it's designed to be that way. So that you can have these problems which then perpetuate this false self-concept, and you believe you're a separate self, having to now deal with all these myriad of problems, and they just never end. Because you solve one and then another one comes.
Exactly.
And another one, until eventually you die. And you sort of have to wonder, well, what's the point of all that?
Yeah.
Endless life of problems, and then one problem after another, and eventually that expends all your life energy and you die. Okay, does that make any sense, really? If you look at that from a holistic perspective, let's zoom out. Let's go to the timeline again. From this perspective of eternal oneness, do any of these problems really make sense? Does this lifetime of problems and struggle and suffering and eventual death, does that make any sense? Like, if you could just be in this pure formless awareness of perfect love, why would you want to go do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? And that's really all Yeshua's saying, because it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's an insane idea. You decided you wanted to be separate. You thought it would be a better idea. You thought it would be a better reality, but guess what? It's not. It's actually hell. You're living this dream of being a helpless, innovative little life, and you're suffering and you're dying, and you're just going to do that over and over. You see, so this reincarnation just happens because you keep cycling around the truth. You keep missing it because you don't want to go there, because you avoid it. So you die in an unawakened state. You believe in separation still, because you've still got all your separate self's psychological and emotional attachments, i.e. your karma. You have to come back and incarnate again and play that all out again in another separate life. Does that all make sense to you? To me, it makes complete sense now. The whole thing's like, okay, it's actually really clear. It's really understandable. I get why it all happens the way it does.
Yeah.
And fortunately, there's a way out.
Yeah.
It gives us a way to escape it all. Hallelujah for that. So listen to the documentary. Really, really interesting video made about Romano, who was, I think, genuinely enlightened. You know, he understood exactly this non-dual teaching. He lived it very purely. And, you know, he was egoless. He didn't even. They built an ashram for him. He wouldn't even sleep on a bed. He slept in the corridor on a mat. He's like, no, I don't need my own room. Like, contrast that to some of these other gurus.
Yeah.
It's all about, this is all about me, and it's the money, and it's the, the Rolls Royces. I mean, one of them, I think Osho had about 20 Rolls Royces. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why would you need 20 Rolls Royces? Why would you even need one, really?
Yeah.
You know, like, ridiculous. Why would you need all that stuff when it's just not true? And so Romano just didn't need any of that. Wasn't bothered with anything in form, really. Just this very humble man who, spent his whole life just mostly in meditation. But he would see anyone at any point. If you arrived at 2 a.m. in the morning, he would give you an audience. Say, okay, yeah, bring, because he was just in like a meditative state. So he would just be brought out of that, and he'd then have his chats and speak to you, and then he'd go back into his super conscious meditative state. There wasn't really no really egoless. No, there was no self left. It was just the one self, just being helpful in whatever way it could, and just mostly just sitting in the self and just blissing out in it. There wasn't really anything much else to do. So very interesting life. Now, for most people go, well, that's just not achievable for me. Like, I'm never going to do. Okay, maybe not. But you can learn from it. You can go, okay, well, what he's showing us is who we really are. He's showing us the bliss of just being who you are. And maybe you can incorporate that in an aspect of your life. So you don't sit in meditation 24/7, but maybe you meditate for an hour or two a day, and you can incorporate that, and you can go into a similar place that he went into. And his method of self-inquiry is another way to get to the truth. Who's asking the question? Who's suffering? Who actually has the problem? Very, very direct inquiry that eventually is going to lead you to the truth of who you are beyond all the illusions. Because if you keep questioning, you see beyond the illusion of a separate self. So great teacher and great method as well. This is the Advaita Vedanta way of like the Course's equivalent of forgiveness would be this method of self-inquiry. To say, okay, how are you actually going to realize this? Well, just keep inquiring, just keep asking the question. It's a form of forgiveness, I guess, because who's asking the question eventually leads you to the realization that there's no one home. There's no one really there. There's no separate self. And so, through the question, you let go of the separate self and your identification, which is letting go. That's what letting go does. Just using a different methodology, slightly different methodology, but the same. Can you see all of these paths are really saying the same thing? They just have a different way of getting to the same mountain. There's a mountain. So different way. You take a course path, you might be going up that, up the right-hand side of the mountain. You take Advaita Vedanta, you might be going up the middle. You take a Buddhist path, you might be going that way. But you get to the same top. It's the same mountain of truth, and you get to the same peak. So is there really any difference? Just a different journey to get there. That's the way I look at it. So to go, oh, no, you're completely wrong because you're approaching it from the other way. Well, that's just very limited, isn't it? No, you're just taking a different journey to get to the same summit. Whether it's Advaita Vedanta, Christian mysticism, the Course, Buddhism, Sufism, there's many paths that will get you to the top of the mountain. If you really go deep into that path, if you're genuine, authentic student, it'll get you to the truth eventually. They're all, because it's all of them are saying the same thing. They're saying the same truth, which is again is very relieving. It's like, well, I can't really get it wrong. I'm just taking this way. This is my chosen path. I'm going up the right flank to get to the top. That's called Christian mysticism in the course. So I don't need to take a Buddhist path, but I know that my Buddhist brothers are going to get there as well if they really go deep enough into the teaching. So why would I say they're doing it wrong? No, they're just doing it. They're just approaching it from a different side. That's all. And that's exactly what the course says. It's a universal path and it's a universal teaching. It's one truth, and there's many, many, many ways to get there. This is just a quick way. I believe A Course in Miracles, for the Western mind, is probably the quickest way to get there. Probably, I say, because who knows, maybe someone else finds another way that works better for them. We all have different, we all wired up a bit differently, and we're going to learn in different ways. But generally speaking, I'd say this is the quickest way. And if I knew a quicker way, I would teach it, obviously, to get there. With the caveat that I don't think you should ever just go, oh, it's just the course and everything else is wrong, because then you've lost the way by definition.
Yeah.
With the caveat that, like, okay, look into these other paths as we do in these teachings. Look into what Advaita says, and look into what Buddhism says, and look into the Taoist philosophy. And then you start to see, well, it's really 6 of one and half and dozen of another. It's the same thing. So, like, it's fine. Like, I'm on my path, they're on their path. Ultimately, this is just telling me, it's just confirming for me, instead of being a threat, it's just confirming for me that I'm on the right path. Yes, I'm climbing the right mountain here. I'm on the right track, because I know that Buddhism is doing it just from a different angle, but it's essentially climbing the same mountain, going to the same summit. So we'll all meet at the summit. It's all good.
Yeah,
it's fine. I'm on the right track here. Rather than people who don't know that would be like, oh, only our path is right, and all other paths up the mountain are wrong. Well, that's ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah.
How can you say that legitimately? Because there's always going to be more than one way to get there. But it's the same mountain of truth you're climbing, and it's the same summit. Okay. I won't mention names in this, but you know what I'm talking about, Archie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that leads us into our lesson. And there's just a couple of little slides here. Let's read those to give us some instruction on the lesson. So
starting from
our state of mind needs to be recovered. If you can do that kindly for us.
Yep, our state of mind needs to be recovered. Then Jesus takes a further step into startling permissiveness. He says that not only is it not necessary to make up the practice periods that were impossible to do at the time, but that it's actually worse if we do. Rituals are not our aim and would defeat our learning goal. The idea of ritual is that simply by performing certain motions, saying certain words, you acquire saving power. Simply by engaging in the form, you seize hold of genuine content.
So just pause there. I mean, that's a really important point, isn't it? Because what he's speaking to there is where so many spiritual paths go wrong is it becomes about the form and the ritual. So you go to church every day, you go to your mosque, you go to your synagogue, and there's a ritual that's been going on for thousands of years, and it's not questioned. Everyone just does the ritual, and it's like, okay, so does that actually mean anything anymore? There was obviously a reason why it was invented way back when, but it's form over content. Does that actually engage people in a direct experience with God? Does it help them? Or is it just empty form? So the genuine content is a genuine insight, a genuine understanding in your mind, something changing internally in your mind, in your heart, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, changing. Now, if a ritual helps that process, then I'm not against it, right? So you burn incense, you have maybe that helps you to really get into that kind of sacred space and connect with your source. But you got to be mindful that maybe it doesn't. Maybe the ritual isn't helpful. Maybe it's just more, okay, you know what, if I do my 10 Hail Marys, then I'm saved. then Jesus loves me and I'm saved. okay, well, I repeat it, but actually nothing's really going on internally. I'm not really shifting. I'm just saying my 10 Hail Marys by rote. I've learnt it off by heart. Or I'm saying the Lord's Prayer by heart, or I'm saying whatever, the mantra, the prayer. It's just repetition, repetition. But it's lost its power of transformation.
Yeah.
It's lost its real meaning, and that's what happens to a lot of spiritual practices, which then usually get formalized into religions, and they lose the spiritual power that maybe they once had because it becomes too ritualized, too form-based, and you miss the essence of it.
Yeah.
And what all these great teachers and teachings did was they came and they said, no, let's chuck out the form and let's focus on the essence. So think of what Yeshua did. Again, he came into a very ritualized system. The Jewish system had all these forms. I mean, it had the Torah had something like 685 rules of conduct.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. Like, who can remember five? Never mind 685.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a completely impractical thought system. It's totally rule bound. And they were starting to make rules about things like fashion and diet and all this kind of stuff. Like so it was basically health and safety. This was like the equivalent of health and safety regulations back in the day.
Yeah.
What did any of that have to do with God that transcends all illusions? Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one I don't know if you watched The Chosen, but I remember watching one little clip of it. And literally this rabbi, one of the Pharisees, Sadducees, is criticizing this guy for wearing a particular kind of garment. He says, no, you can't wear that garment. It's got two different fabrics. And the guy's like, huh?
Really?
I know that's lesson 637. It's rule 637 of the Torah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Wow.
ridiculous, dude. I mean, of course, Jesus is going to go, that's ridiculous. That's got nothing to do with God at all. It's fashion.
Exactly.
Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
You have two garments or three. You're like, who made that rule anyway?
Yeah.
But now that has become inculcated as some kind of, God-given commandment, and you're a sinner if you wear a garment with three kinds of fabric rather than two. I was so ridiculous. And you could see the guy just being bewildered. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know I'd sinned. Oh, I'm really sorry."
Yeah.
But Jesus then just said, "No, sorry. This is like a totally ridiculous control system. Just
Yeah.
do away with all the rituals and
Yeah.
go to the genuine content. Go to the essence." So he'd say, the person who prays humbly, forget all the rituals and the. I mean, he criticized the Pharisees and the Sadducees for this. Forget all those rituals because it doesn't mean anything. You Pharisees and you Sadducees, you go to the temples and in your fine clothes, or you have your rituals with the sackcloth and etc. etc. None of that means anything. The woman who's just a normal woman who goes and humbles herself and prays genuinely is getting much more than you. And of course, they were like outraged. How can you say that? But it was true. So again, the lesson's repeated 2,000 years later. It's kind of defeat our aim to get into a ritual. Okay, well, every half an hour I've done my lesson. Oh, I'm safe because every half an hour I've done my lesson. Aren't I such a good course student? No, if you're not having any connection with source and insight, then it's pointless. Don't just repeat it by rote. Like it's got to actually be doing something mentally and emotionally. So yes, you're going to miss practice periods. He acknowledges that, but don't get hung up on it. As long as he'd rather have you do one practice period, like let's say we've done now, go really deep and meaningful. He'd rather have you do that than do like on the hour, every half hour, and it's all just meaningless. You just say the words.
Yeah.
All right. So, Elaine, if you can read that, it would defeat our goal because our sights need to be set on content. Elaine, are you there? No, Elaine's not there. Okay. So, Archie, if you read, I don't know where Elaine's gone. If you read, whoops. I just clicked something. Yeah. It would defeat our goal.
Yep, it would defeat our goal because our sights need to be set on content. It's what happens in our practice period that saves us. The time we give us just an incubate, the time we give us just, oh, sorry, the time we
We
give
give ourselves,
is,
probably that should be.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Or the time we give is just an incubator in which the infancy of salvation can grow. It's
Yeah.
easy to have an incubator that contains a dead egg. We can't therefore simply count up the number of incubators we have used in a given day. What matters is how many chicks actually hatched.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So content over form.
Yeah.
Are you really getting insights? Are you really feeling
Mm.
that presence? Or is
Mm.
it just like empty practice and
Yeah.
ritual?
Yeah.
And he's saying, content over form any day. So if you do
Yeah.
2 or 3 really good practice periods and you really feel the connection and the shift, that's preferable to doing it every hour, but
Yeah.
in a very superficial way.
Yeah. Startling.
And then he said,
Yeah.
what happens when you miss a practice period? Because he knows you're going to miss practice periods.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
inevitable. No
Yeah.
one does the course properly. No one in human history has ever done the course 100%.
Yeah.
The workbook. It's just not possible because it's a very high standard that he set.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to read that?
Yeah. Startling permissiveness on missed practice. Learning will not be hampered when you miss a practice period because it is impossible at the appointed time. In other words, if you miss a practice period because you literally couldn't do it, your spiritual progress will not be slowed one bit. Your progress will be the same as if you had had the time and had actually done your practice period.
Yeah, so he's basically giving us a lot of leeway and saying, look, okay,
Yeah.
so this is your ideal, but if you don't meet the ideal and you keep missing the target, at least you hit the target twice, right? It's quite a nice little analogy with the dot. Yeah, so you didn't practice, but at least you you've hit a couple of times in a day because you did practice and it was meaningful. And that's most important, that you don't feel guilty about missing practice periods and being a bad course student and so on, because that's just more ego. Just using the course now. I mean, the ego is very cunning. It'll use the course for its own purposes, for guilt and sin, which is ridiculous. But then that's what it's going to try and do. Oh, you're a very bad course student. Oh, you haven't done your practice periods today. Oh, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Oh, you gotta go and like punish yourself now. That's crazy. That's more guilt, which contradicts the whole teaching.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
like,
that's
no,
why I just find it such a relief, Jonathan, when I read this as well. It's like, oh, finally, kind of like, it's just like,
yeah, finally there's the truth. And actually it's giving us a lot of leeway. Yes,
exactly.
he's setting the bar really high. He gives us these practices. He says this is what you should do.
Yeah.
But he's also saying, look, I understand that that's probably just like it's not going to happen. I know you're not, like, no one's going to do every half an hour on the half hour. Like, even if you had an app reminding you, you'd probably switch it off.
Yeah.
Or just go, no, I'm too busy. know. So, but at least if you do it a few times, do it a few times really well, you're getting a lot more than you would have got. So.
Yeah, and it's quality over quantity. That's the thing that, yeah.
Same as, in when I was a professional squash player, I learned this the hard way. Like when I started off my career, it was a lot of quantity training. You just like grind away, but it wasn't in high intensity or high quality. And then, like I realized that's the wrong approach. It's quality over quantity. Do
absolutely.
Quality, high intensity, rest, recover.
Yeah.
Rather than like dragging out, these long drawn out trains. So by the end of it, you're so exhausted. Your quality is just way down. There's no quality. You're just kind of like going through the motions. It's not helping you at all. So same thing, hit it. If you can only do it 2 or 3 times in the day, do quality, Do it
Yeah.
like, yeah, I really got something out of that.
Yeah.
And you have learned something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's an interesting one,
Yeah. If
which
we,
we've missed 6 hours. Yeah, interesting analogy, because we're driving an 18-wheeler and didn't
yeah,
want to kill anyone. Okay, interesting.
I was going to say, how many of us drive
Yeah,
18-wheelers?
well, I suppose it just sort of came up with something that might.
Yeah.
I would think actually, if you were driving an 18-wheeler, you might have plenty of time to practice.
Yeah.
Because you're just driving around, you could easily do your course lesson in your mind, couldn't you? Or listen. But anyway, that's just what he's come up with. So let's read it.
If we have missed 6 hours of practice because we were driving an 18-wheeler and didn't want to kill anyone, we will want to sit down and do a bit of catch up. Our state of mind needs to be recovered, but this is not about numbers. This is purely about content. We want to go forward with an elevated state.
And what I would say there, the intelligent way of doing this is maybe if you're driving, let's say, you can practice.
Mm.
You can easily listen to a lesson.
Yeah.
Or just think about a lesson. And sometimes I'm like, just be driving or washing up or something, and I'll go, okay, good time to do a lesson.
Yeah.
I've got 5 minutes, so 10 minutes. So yeah, I'll just think of the lesson. I'll play the recording maybe, but
Yeah.
just think of the lesson. It's a simple idea. You bring
Yeah.
it to mind, you dwell on it a bit, you connect with it, you feel it. Great, you just practiced it. It only took you a minute or two.
Mm.
And then maybe that helps you deal with if you're dealing with some issue, you've got something going on in your mind. You're like, okay, I've changed my state now. Now I go back to that situation, and I feel a bit differently about it, which is then forgiveness. So it's actually really practical, really simple, really helpful, and that's why he's given it to us. Right? It's meant to help us, not be a burden. It's meant to guide us and help us on a daily basis. It's like something like you do certain things repetitively in your daily life. You brush your teeth, you wash yourself, you maybe have a cup of tea or two. You do these things. But this is what he's saying. Just get into a rhythm of doing it. Find your rhythm, find your flow with it, so that you can do it repeatedly. If every hour and a half hour becomes a chore, then you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah.
Of the exercise. It should be a flowing experience. And so what I say here, maybe just read that. You don't have to do it all.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all. Just do what you can fit in and flow with, and don't feel stressed because you think you're not doing enough. The whole point of this program is to help you reduce your stress, not increase it. Just let go of the need to be perfect on the level of form, and you'll find that you can flow through the recommended practices in the schedule in an easy, effortless way, which will help you to experience more peace, joy, and flow in your life.
So it's a guideline, in other words. You do what works for you. You find a way to make a schedule work for you, picking and choosing out of all of this is the complete. This is all the options, right? I'm giving you. And then you choose what works for you. Okay, so you've joined a live session, and maybe you're going to watch that at some point, and maybe you'll do a meditation tonight before bed. Yeah, okay, good. You did. You did several hours. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
If you did this to the T every day, you could spend 8 hours a day on this stuff. That's not intention. That's not realistic. Even for someone who's retired, that's not realistic because you've got other things to do.
Yeah.
So it's more like a menu. Go pick from the menu, and you don't have to eat the whole menu. Just pick and choose
And
a few things.
that's what I do actually, Jonathan. When I read your email, I read it all through, and then intuitively I see what it is on there that I feel I want to I want to do.
Explore.
So,
which is exactly the right way to do it. And someone else might be intuitively drawn to something else.
Yeah.
So if that's missing, then they don't get. So that's why it's a big email, and there's a lot in here because there's a lot of points. There's a lot of touch points that could be meaningful for different people depending on where they are in their journey and so on. Maybe the lesson really works for someone. Maybe someone really just needs to listen to Romana's story. That will really touch their heart and open their mind, and they'll learn a lot from that. Who knows? I can't say, but what I've done with the guidance of the Holy Spirit is to just say, look, here all is put together in a program. All the resources, all the tools are there. Go and and use it in intuitive, guided way. It's going to work for you.
Yeah,
you don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
So I think just understanding that, maybe that's something that in the beginning of the journey in the Arts of Letting Go course, in the first session, I must just explain that more. I think so people, look, this is obviously they've got to experience it themselves and journey through that, but just prepare them. So look, think of this as a menu of options. And obviously the more you do, the better. If you can do all of it, great. But pick the things that are really important. So do the lessons, do the meditation in the morning, do the lessons, join the live sessions. If you put those structures in place in your life, you do that every day, repeatedly. That's a lot of spiritual practice you're going to be getting in.
Yeah.
You're already doing way more than you're currently doing. So great. And if you can fit some other stuff in, great. But just do what you can do, and do it in a way that's guiltless. There's no sense of I'm doing it wrong and I'm a bad student. It's like, no, I'm actually doing it in a guided, intuitive, joyful way. The practice itself is self-rewarding. Like, I actually enjoy my practice, enjoy my little breath breaks, enjoy the the live sessions. Some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you could sit for 3 hours. How long have we been going? 3 hours. But it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable, interactive,
I'm
engaging
really
process.
enjoying it, and particularly the expression sessions. I get a lot of value out of those. Actually, really.
Which is and those take time. It takes time. It unfolds. There's a process to it, but that's why I'm like, you must show up to the live sessions, because if you don't do the live sessions, you don't get that.
Yeah.
You miss listening to an expression. I suppose you can do it on a recording, but it's not the same as being in it.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's real time. It's actually in the moment. In the moment.
It's happening live. You're engaging. You're asking a question. You can get a response.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's another level of learning, another level of engagement than listening to a podcast. And as engaged as you might be in a podcast, the truth is you'll probably lose attention after a few minutes. Your mind will go somewhere else. You drift off. Maybe you get distracted, and you just don't get the same kind of. I feel like this is a cocoon. You go into like a bubble in these sessions, right? It's a bubble, an energetic bubble, and you're in a field of transformation. There's no doubt. So when you enter that energetic bubble, things can happen, things can change, things can shift in a way that just won't happen if you don't enter the field of transformation.
Yeah.
And the quickest way of entering it is just get into a session like we're at. I mean, ideally in person would be even better.
Yeah.
But okay, it's not bad, is it? It's 80-90%.
Yeah.
Because it's an energy, it's an engagement. And it's you get immersed in this bubble, in this field. Really, it's a field that is non-local. So we're in the field, even though you're in Suffolk, I'm in Dorset, Elaine's in Tenerife, and you could have people all over the world. They enter into the same field, which is non-local, and that field then helps the transformation to start happening.
Yeah.
And whatever needs to arise in that field for that time, for those people, will arise. That's the Holy Spirit guiding.
And that's what I love about it. And we all learn from each other as well. Yeah.
So it's a very spontaneous. Yes, there's material, but then what happened today is never going to happen again. If we did it again next year, it's going to be a different session. It's going to happen differently.
Yeah.
And so it remains spontaneous, fresh, alive, and relevant. Okay, if you show up, it's going to be relevant to that time and that place for those people at that point in time. Yes, the recording can also, I mean, hopefully people listening to these recordings, get benefit out of them. But I think the real benefit is show up live.
Yeah.
And actually journey through it, and you actually have the experience real time. It's a bit like vicarious experience versus actual experience. You're actually getting the experience rather than just listening in on it.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to our lesson. Finally, sorry, went off on some teaching tangent, but hopefully useful. I mean, all this stuff is really a review.
I know, really. I mean, really useful, because for me, again, this is all the the foundational stuff that is is critical to
to understand this is important. And
Yeah.
then you start being able to apply it more. The more this
Yeah.
becomes your default understanding,
Mm.
you're like, okay, I get it. I can just move forward and I can apply this. But if you have issues with the theory, then you're not going to be able to apply the teachings, because there's still going to be these blocks in your mind going, oh, but I can't accept that. And so it doesn't become a lived teaching. Right. And we've seen, we talked about Helen Schuckman's example. She didn't live it, even though she was the scribe of it. She understood the theory intellectually, but she didn't actually live it and practice it. So obviously that's a very limited way of doing the course. There's not going to be full transfer of training. There's not going to be that transformation of your mind, your body, and your entire life that the course promises. Right? Transformation must be holistic across every area of your life to really be a transformation. That's what he's promising.
Yeah.
And that's, if you really immerse yourself in these teachings, that's what they will do for you. So when people say, oh, but the course is a bit full on for me, what they're really saying is, I don't want that full transformation. I want a little glimpse, maybe a little taste, because it kind of, it's kind of nice to get a bit of spiritual stuff in my life, but I'm not willing to let go of my separate self and go the whole way. Which, means that essentially the ego is still in charge and the Holy Spirit's trying to get a look in, and usually being shut out by the ego. That's essentially what it means. It means the ego is still in charge of their life.
Yeah.
And then, the consequences of that are what the ego does. The ego will do what it does. Misery, pain, suffering, sickness, death, all of that comes because that's what it does. Don't expect anything different. Once you realize what it is and what it does, how it operates, then it's very simple. Do you want that or not? Put it in charge of your life. You're going to get that. Or if you really don't want it, then you've got to let go, which is what the lessons help us to do. So, very short, to the point lesson. These are two original lessons that are being reviewed. But what I quite like about the reviews is they're so brief. They just really get to the essence of the idea. They bring it into your mind, and there's a lot of value in that form. It's the sutra form of ancient India, where they would just write a very brief line, sentence, maybe a paragraph at most. They would just have a truth in it and then don't elaborate. So it helps the mind to just get something directly in a maybe a simpler way than if you read a whole essay on it. All right, so let's go for it then. Elaine, are you back with us? Elaine, are you there? Hello? Can you read? I don't know what's happened to Elaine. She's disappeared.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind. I've got my camera off, Jonathan, because my internet connection is unstable at the moment. So by turning the video off, it helps with the Otherwise, it keeps lagging.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I don't know where Elaine's gone. She's still on the call, but she's not responding. So we'll just read it. I'll read the original, and you read the alternative. So, I am one self united with my creator.
I am one self united with my source or abundance.
So serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God.
Serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one self, completely whole, at one with pure formless awareness of perfect love or abundance and all its extensions.
Okay, so thoughts on that idea?
Mm. Yeah, well, just again, it's just like, for me, it's just such a relief reading it, because I just see, yes, serenity and perfect peace of mind because I'm oneself. That to me sort of sums it up. Yeah.
Yeah, because I am, right? This is the great
Yeah.
I am presence. Because I am that I am,
Yeah.
the original name of God in the Bible, in
Yeah.
Exodus, when this presence spoke to Moses, he said, well, like, so who are you? Who's sending me? Because remember, Moses had come out of a tradition of like 1,000 gods in Egypt.
Mm.
So he's like, okay, so what God are you then? Like, I want to know. And it answered that, I suppose, in the only way it could. I am that I am.
Mm.
I am the very fundamental presence awareness
Mm.
that you are.
Mm.
What could be simpler, right? Your most innermost awareness is now speaking to you.
Mm.
Because you are that one self, then perfect peace and serenity are given to you, because that one self is naturally peaceful
Yeah.
and serene and happy.
Yeah.
So you only have to unite your mind with oneself, and
Mm.
peace, happiness, serenity, love, joy, these become natural states.
Mm.
So the gifts of God come just because you identify yourself with who you are.
Yeah.
You become, know thyself, and then everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
So you're no longer seeking these seeming benefits.
Mm.
You seek God alone. You seek the one self that you are, and realize that nothing else is true or real.
Yeah.
And so you're completely whole, at one with pure formless awareness of perfect love or abundance and all its extensions.
Mm.
Right? And that's the truth. That's what you are.
Mm.
No questions, no ambiguity. It's the ultimate eternal truth. It's unchangeable.
Mm.
So the only problem that you have is that we don't accept it fully. That is our only problem in life. This is what Yeshua was trying to say. Look, you've only got one problem here, and that's that you fail to accept this truth.
Yeah.
You don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept it because you think that your other self, your little self, is more important than the one self. You prefer the little self to the one self.
Mm.
So there's your whole problem right there. The problem is a problem of identity, of identification.
Yeah.
All problems come down to that.
Mm.
That is such a stunningly simple insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's not many problems. There's only one problem.
Yeah.
And that's that you've misidentified yourself with a false self-concept.
Mm.
That's your whole problem.
Mm.
All your other problems, seeming problems, come out of that problem. So then you have a solution. One problem, one solution, as lesson 79 and 80.
Mm.
Once you identify the problem, the solution becomes obvious. Okay, let go of the false self-concept and
Yeah.
identify yourself again with the one self
Mm.
that you are united with, which is your source, and that's what the lesson's teaching us.
Mm.
The answer to all problems.
Mm.
So powerful. The magnitude of this can't be understated.
Mm.
Yeah, they're just words, but when you accept the meaning of the words and you really go there in your mind and your heart, then all of your problems are genuinely over.
Mm.
And you can find genuine peace and happiness and serenity, even though the problems on the level of form might not disappear instantly. You realize that they're not really a problem. So why are you making them into a problem?
Yeah.
You just deal with the situations. Okay, well, if I'm not caught up in the problem, maybe the answer becomes obvious. What should I do?
Mm.
And when you let go of the problem consciousness, then the solution presents itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And have you ever been in a mindset yourself or had other people that you know who's so fixated on the problem that there's no openness to the solution?
Mm.
And you can say whatever you want, but they won't see it because the
Yeah.
problem is too big in their minds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my friend, for example, you know, the
Yeah.
one I mentioned before, yeah.
And people get stuck,
Just
you know, they get stuck in the problem.
So stuck. Yeah.
And they just, no, and you say, okay, well, you know, here's a simple solution. No, but. Yes, but.
Yeah.
But, you know, they return to the problem. And you're like, well, really, you've just got fixated on the problem. And that's become a part of your self-concept.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the thing, yeah.
The problem has become entrenched in your self-concept, and you can't let go of the problem because then you feel like you are destroying yourself.
Yeah.
That's the nub of the problem.
Mm.
So to let go of the problem would be to undermine the separate self that you think is you. And so you would rather have the problem and retain that separate self concept than let go of the problem and undo the separate self.
Yeah.
And that really, really simple, plain English and simple psychological terms, that is the human condition. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, once you understand that, oh my goodness, that is such a liberating insight to have.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, my only problem is my separate self-concept. Right now, I think I've got a problem outside me, but actually, my only problem is I'm attached to my self-concept, which wants to make this problem real. That's the only problem I've really got.
Yeah.
Once you have this knowledge, and it is knowledge, the ego is done for, because you will see through all of its smoke and mirrors. And all of the smoke screens of problems that it invents and go, no, I don't buy this anymore. There's really only one problem here, and that's my own misidentification with a false self. I'm delusional. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can fix that because I can just let that delusion go. I don't have to keep believing in a delusion. And then my problem diminishes. Then I don't perceive it as much of a problem. Okay, so I've still got something on the level of form, but I'm not freaked out by it anymore. I'm not stressing and straining and striving, and I'm just saying, all right, well, you know, I've let it go, and I'm open to an answer. I'm open to a solution. Show me, and then it'll come. So it is a problem-solving technique par excellence, which, again, the ego won't tell you about because it solves the problem, the one problem that is the ego, and eliminates it. So it eliminates the entire ego thought system and identity and world, and wipes all of that away, and frees you into your one self, in which there are no problems. There's no problem in the self. It's just pure formless awareness. It's perfect, beyond all problems. So very, very simple ideas, but pretty radical. And he's just totally one of these ideas. I'm one self, united with my creator or source or abundance. You prefer the alternative version. That one idea, properly understood and lived and applied in your life, is going to collapse the entire ego.
Yeah.
That's how powerful these ideas are. Just one idea will do it.
Yeah.
He gives us many ideas because he's like, well, I've got to vary it. If I just give you the same idea every day, you get bored. But it's the same idea essentially. It's given us the same remedy, the same idea, just in 365 different ways, which is quite ingenious, and managed to hold our attention over the course of a year, so we don't get bored and abandon it. And he also knows that this idea, for one person, this might be, oh my God, you just rocked my world. I get it. And another person might go, oh no, I'm not kind of vibing with that. I'm not resonating. But the next idea might really work for me. Who knows? There's different versions of the truth are going to work for different people at different times.
Yeah.
So he's given us all of that in this very comprehensive, detailed course, because you're like, well, yeah, at some point, this may work for you. And at another point, something else is going to work for you. And so I'm giving it all to you. So the Holy Spirit's got a lot of material to work with here it's very multi-dimensional, even though it's one truth. There's many ways that that truth is being expressed to you. So there's many ways that the Holy Spirit can now teach you and help you learn, which is one of the strengths of the course. There's one truth, but there's many ways of understanding that truth.
Yeah.
All right. So, any other thoughts on that idea? So we move on to the next one. Salvation comes from my one self. Do you want to read the original this time, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought Elaine was back for a minute.
Elaine back? Elaine, are you back? No, I don't know. Maybe she had an issue with Dave. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can read the original. Salvation comes from my one self.
Freedom or abundance comes from my one self.
From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled.
From my one self, whose knowledge, capital K, still remains in my awareness, I perceive perfect love's perfect plan for my freedom or abundance perfectly fulfilled. Okay, so thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to kind of put it into words.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling, it is. Yeah.
You can feel that feeling, and normally you feel it in your heart and your stomach for very.
Yeah, my heart.
Heart.
Yeah.
So it's a feeling of like, something's open, something's a little bit more, something's lifted, something's more expanded. Feels nice, open, expansive. And so that, that feeling is accessing knowledge. I'm saying to you, so this is true, and I'm starting to recognize the truth again. And there's a quality of truth that is unmistakable.
Yes. Yeah.
You just know, there's something true here, there's something real, there's something authentic. Because I don't know, I just feel it. How do I know
exactly.
the difference between illusion? Well, I just know, I just feel. That's knowledge.
It's exactly that, Jonathan. It's that sense of just knowing, it, and so that's why I find it difficult to kind of express it in words, because it's a sense of knowing that that's true. It's
which is difficult to express in words.
And
so it's ultimately why words are just pointers. They're signposts, but they're not the ultimate truth. In the end, the truth comes in an experience, a direct experience.
Yeah.
And that's what the words are already signposting you to, pointing you to. Okay, so follow these words, which can be very helpful. These words are powerful. They can signpost you into a direct experience of this awareness that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Of this one self that they're talking about. Or you could just read the words, salvation comes from my one self, and not have any feeling about that. And then it's all pretty pointless. I think there's many course students who've done that for years. They just read the words and go, I'm doing the course. But if you don't really understand the words, then are you really doing the course? No, you don't really understand. You're just a parrot, parrot fashion.
Yeah.
And no understanding. So he wants us to really go into these ideas, work with them, repeat them, meditate on them, contemplate them, apply them, so that we really start to understand what they mean on a deeper level. And then we start connecting the dots, or putting in place all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. It all starts making sense. Okay, salvation comes from my one self, and I'm one self united with my source or abundance. These ideas don't contradict each other. They're just part of the same thought system.
Yeah.
Which, once it fits together, becomes the beautiful jigsaw that reveals the masterpiece. Okay. So then he wants us to do on the hour. and on the half hour. You're going to repeat those those two statements. Simple, very simple ideas that are designed to connect you with that one self, that one awareness that everyone has deep in their mind. So yeah, absolutely, beautiful teachings. And so what I like about them as well is so brief. These are not long, it's so short and to the point that you can easily remember. And he knows that. He knows, look, if I give you lessons that are like long sentences, it's going to be difficult for you to remember. So I'm going to give you very, very short, direct sentences to remember. And he does that pretty consistently until right at the end of the workbook. End of the workbook, the lessons get a little, the ideas get a little bit longer. They end up being like a full sentence. But for most of it, it's very, very short. Very short sentence, very short idea. Because he knows that's going to be more meaningful for us when we remember that. All right, so how are we doing on time? We are now 6:13. Would you like to do a meditation to
I would actually, yes.
close it out?
Yeah.
Quite a nice way to end the session.
Yeah. And then that will lead me. I'm expecting dinner between 6:30 and 7.
Yeah, great. All good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was absent there, everyone. I had the termite chap came, so I had to leave this. Yeah,
we
so
were wondering what happened. Never mind. You can catch it on the recording. We're doing a meditation now, Elaine, to just finish off. So let's do that, shall we?
No, I'm going to have to go because they're still here. Yeah, sorry.
Right. Yeah, all right, no problem. We'll see you next week then, sometime.
See you next week. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, Elaine.
Does Monday work for you?
Pardon?
Does Monday work for you, Elaine?
Yeah. No, I think that should be fine. Yes, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Archie, does that work for you next week?
Yep, let me just check. 30. Yep, that's good for me as well. I'll take 2:30 again. Yeah. That's great.
Brilliant. Okay. See you then, Elaine. Have a lovely evening. Good luck with the termites.
Yes.
Yeah,
stay
fingers
calm.
crossed. Yes, Holy Spirit.
Whatever happens, like
I know. Yeah, it's one of those.
the Holy Spirit in charge.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
All right. See you
next
week.
Bye, Elaine.
Namaste.
Bye.
Namaste.
All right. So let's dive into a meditation on this. So this is review lesson 113 we're on, which has 2 key ideas. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in through the nose. Clench the sphincter muscle. It's the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine. To the crown of your head. Maximal inhale breath. Just pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. I just want you to scan your mind. for anything that's disturbing your peace. Any fear, anxiety, worry, attack thoughts, grievances, frustration, any anger, and remind yourself of today's first review idea, which is that I am one self. Breathe in on that. Nice deep full inhale. Embrace your one self. Invite it in with your breath. And one self. United with my creator, or alternative language, my source or abundance. So feel the serenity, perfect peace, the joy, so serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one self. Breathe in on that, embrace the self, embrace the serenity and perfect peace that it will inevitably bring you. Remind yourself that you're completely whole. And at one with your formless awareness of perfect love. Which is abundance. So I am completely whole at one with this awareness. Feel this, the source, this abundance. Breathe it into every pore, every cell. Every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. There's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just sinking inwards to this one self. Feel the source of its abundance in your mind and your heart. So just be aware of anything that is not in alignment with this one self, or this feeling of abundance, of infinite, limitless possibility. And just as you exhale, maybe you can chew it and visualize any thoughts and emotions that are not coming from your one self as a dark cloud. Just bring those to mind. And you can see them as a dark cloud of energy sitting in your heart, your solar plexus. And just have the courage to let it all go. Exhale, just blow it all out. Breathe of your breath. Exhaling out. Going, gone. Stomach into your mind. Just blowing away all the separation, the doubt, the fear, difficulties, anything that's coming from a separate self. It's not one self. Just let it go. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness that really is. Letting it all away. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness that really is. And it's going, gone. Lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Let's move on to our next idea for review. Breathe in again. Breathe in. Just to repeat the idea to yourself today. And remind yourself that salvation or freedom, untranslated version, freedom or abundance comes from my one self. Again, breathe it in. So freedom or abundance comes from my one self. Just contemplate that for a bit. To listen to these words, short commentary on the lesson. So Then again, so from my one self, whose knowledge still remains, it's in my mind or in my awareness. I receive perfect love's perfect plan for my fulfillment, for my freedom or abundance perfectly fulfilled. Breathe in on that, and really this is just an acceptance. In your heart, you just know that you are free, you have an abundant life, your abundance itself. Freedom or abundance comes from my one self. From my one self whose knowledge still remains in my awareness. I perceive perfect love's plan for my freedom or abundance perfectly fulfilled. I exhale in truth for that. Again, just exhale, letting go of any dark thoughts, emotions. And so just sink inwards into this great I am presence. The one self. I am that I am, as was called in Exodus. My God, when his presence appeared to him in a burning bush, he said, who should I say has sent me to my people in Israel to free them? He said, just tell them that I am. You just rest in this freedom or abundance. It's not about lots of words, just a feeling of the self, your source, creator, that is always there, always with you, always guiding you. So sink inwards, go deeper and deeper with each breath into this calm, quiet, tranquil place in your mind where you find salvation or freedom from which all abundance comes. there's really nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Just breathe in and out through your nose, relax. Just observing the breath. Subtle sensations of the breath flowing into the nostrils and out of the nostrils. And deeper with each breath into this still, calm, peaceful, quiet place. Surrender, freedom, abundance, which comes from your true self that's connected to your source. And nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about, just just gently coming back now from this very deep connected state in which direct experience of God and source comes via the intermediary of the true self. Be aware of that self, be aware of this quietness, this peace. As you breathe in, notice the weight of your body. Pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling with be aware of your breathing, what's going on around you. And on the count of 3, I would bring you out this deep state into normal consciousness. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and subtle flow of air through the nostrils. Just hold the top of the inhale. Smile, scan your mind, scan your body, notice what's going on, notice any other thoughts, emotions, feelings, any body sensations. Whatever's going on, remind yourself that I am one self, united with my source, which is abundant, which is abundance itself. You're breathing in, the top of the inhale, hold your breath briefly, noticing what you feeling, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Maybe there's a smell in your nose, a taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing. Noticing all these things from this very still, calm, detached perspective. There's no investment in any outcome, any expectation. It just is what it is. If there's something that feels unpleasant, just kind of exhale, blow it off the way. Just letting it go. So exhale, just have a sense of releasing any remaining attachment to any problems, any difficulties, hurdles, obstacles, mental and emotional pain, physical circumstances, physical pain, whatever it is, just exhale and just blow out all the darkness, the negativity, letting it all go. Use of your breath, imagine you blowing it away like a dark cloud or black smoke. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. you blow it all out, let it all go. Pull the lower stomach into the spine and just rest in peace and stillness for a few moments. Just anchor this state in. Remind yourself that I'm one self, united with my creator or source, which is abundance itself, and that salvation or freedom or abundance. So anchor the state in, say my one self is united with my source, and salvation or freedom or abundance comes from this one self. Breathe that into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the self. Embrace it. Feel it as your own most innermost awareness, your own deepest awareness, not sometime in the past or future, but right now. And this is the living truth, the living God, accessible in your awareness, in your experience right now. So it is said and so it is done. So I'm one self, united with my source, and I am free in this self, and so it is. Amen. Now, on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a minute to look around, ground yourself, come out of the deep meditation. Notice how peaceful and calm you're feeling. You look around the various objects in the room and just have no judgment. There's no separate self-judging anything. It's just awareness being aware. It's very peaceful, it's very calming, very serene. So this is the perception that your true self offers you. It's what we call happy perception, the happy dream. You're not home yet, but it feels good, it feels peaceful, it feels happy, because your one self is driving instead of the separate self. So on that note, we bring it to the end of the meditation and the session. Thank you, Archie.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Enjoy your dinner and the rest of your week. And I will see you on Thursday evening.
Yes, Thursday, 5 o'clock, I think we said. Yeah,
should be good.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Okay,
see
you then.
And do you remember to do that little testimonial for me?
Oh, yes. I won't do it today, Jonathan.
No
I
rush.
will do in the next couple of days. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Namaste.
Good
night. Bye.
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 Okay, so that is a wrap for today. If you enjoyed that, then why not subscribe to the channel? I go live and do this a couple of times a week, so you'll be notified by YouTube when that happens. So you can catch the live stream or the recording. You can also go to lifebuild.com. You can see that in the background. And let's type that into your browser, lifebuild.com, or click the link in the that'll be in the comments box, and you can sign up there to receive a daily series of messages from me with an inspirational quote and some teachings around that quote, and a lesson from A Course in Miracles, and usually a short mini meditation or breath break to help you practice the lesson, and other resources like you saw today. Gave you a free documentary video. I do that. Other talks from other teachers, access to past recordings of live sessions we've held as part of the Arts Learning Go program. It's all there for you. So you just need to have Telegram installed on your device. If you don't have that, you can download it free on the App Store, the Google Play Store. Install it, go sign up with your mobile number, and I will then add you to the group. In fact, you'll be joined automatically. It's an automatic process. You'll be joined to the Telegram group, and you'll receive information every day, which includes invitations to these live sessions. So you can join the live calls for 3 weeks for free. And once, if you resonate with it, we'll talk about joining the whole program. So go do that. Subscribe to the channel as a minimum. If you want to go deeper, go lifepool.com, sign up to the Telegram group, and look forward to seeing you on the inside of the group, or maybe in one of these sessions soon. So thank you for watching or listening, and namaste, which means the true self in me acknowledges and honors that same true self in you. And wishing much love, peace, and joy in that self.